There's a 6 seed to settle in the AFC. There's a couple of spots to settle in the NFC. The playoffs really begin in the 4 o'clock hour because you have two playoff games, the Bears and the Packers. First time that's ever happened in the last week of the season for those two, long-time rivals dating back to the beginnings of the league. And, of course, the Cowboys and the Eagles this evening in prime time. Jim Nantz joins us now. He'll be in Cincinnati with Phil Simms for the Ravens. The defending champs look to stay alive. They need some help, help that they readily can get today if they can figure out a way to turn back the Bengals, who are playing for some seeding today. Jim, welcome. How are you?
I'm great. How you doing, Michael?
Good. Yeah, good basketball game yesterday. Good win for Kentucky yesterday, and short trip over to Cincinnati. And the question today is there any life left in the champs after a tough Sunday last week?
Well, I think there's going to be a lot of life coming from them today. I would be expecting a very good performance by the Ravens today. Just in our chats this week with the Ravens, you go back and review what went wrong last week and the flop against New England. And now they'll tell you that they were physically and mentally very fatigued, never caught up coming off a Monday night game against Detroit. They practiced poorly all week leading into the New England game. I think last week tipped off a little bit that I had low expectations for Flacco in that game.
Yeah, you were definitely right. Flacco was hurt, but what was bad about the game, too, was they couldn't get anything going. They couldn't even block a three-man New England line. I mean, their offensive line played so badly in that game last week.
Well, they ran into a team that was highly motivated, still burned by the fact that they lost to them the previous year in the AFC Championship game, and New England came in and played with great aggression and a purpose. As I said, Baltimore was flat, and now you know that all week the practices were flat, lethargic. They were really never in sync, and then on top of it, you got Flacco, who wasn't himself. And of course, he tried to make it a non-issue, and still does going into this game. But, it was all the ingredients there now that you look back on it. I think we were on top of it when we talked about it last week.
No, you listen, you said Flacco would struggle, and he did. There's no question. He was clearly limited. He couldn't move well last week. Plus, they had no running game, which they've had no running game all year. The thing I would lean towards them today is I favor the team that's fighting for its life versus a team that's trying to move up in the seeding. Now, Cincinnati's only moving up if New England loses to Buffalo. None of us expect that to happen with Buffalo going in with a backup quarterback. So Cincinnati is pretty much going to be the 3 seed. We know that going in. So to me, I expect a lot more effort and a lot more out of Baltimore than I do out of Cincy, just from that premise of a team playing for its life to get into the playoffs versus a team that's hoping to move up one slot in the seeds, Yeah,
absolutely. The thing about it is no one can really dictate their future here on the AFC side. It's hard to believe you go through 16 weeks of a season. You got 4 teams still alive for one spot, and everyone needs some sort of crazy help.
Well, the quirky help is San Diego. Is that you have the quirky thing where your Ravens win the head-to-head, but they don't win the three-way, and that's really the quirky thing. Is Miami is going to be sweating out the Charger game, is what it comes down to, and the Chargers playing for nothing but pride at that point, knowing they've been eliminated when the Dolphins win.
Yeah, there's all kinds of scenarios where teams may not have to, come out and play motivated football because they've already been taken out of the equation. And the fact, what you said about Baltimore, with this tiebreaker in the 2-team or 3-team, talking about San Diego, it had them so baffled this week. I know there were phone calls made to the league office like, how in the heck are we not going to have the better of it when we already won the head-to-head matchup? So it's just the way it works out.
Well, I mean, they should be able to know that.
Rules are all spelled out.
I mean, they're very simple. I mean, I'm surprised they even anybody had a call. Anyone knows that 3 teams don't, different tiebreakers. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
well,
so I mean, they need a little help, is what it comes down to. I mean,
they need some help, but they really want to come in here, and it's a prideful team that's been in the playoffs 5 straight years. The only team in the league to be in the playoffs the last 5 years. They like to move it to 6, and They come out here and win. And
hey, win your game. Win your game, Jim. I think they'll be. If they win their game, I think they will be in the playoffs because I think Kansas City has nothing to play for, and they've had some banged up players. San Diego, you would think, no matter what, would like to finish their season on a high note. They've had a decent year. So to me, I expect San Diego to win this afternoon. So if I'm Baltimore, I'm thinking I win my game, I'm going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, you would think. You would think that would be exactly the case. I can't see Kansas City come late afternoon, and regardless, they know they're locked in at the 5.
Yep.
I can't see any motivation for Kansas City.
No, either do I. So to me, I expect San Diego to win anyway. So if I'm Baltimore, I know I'm pretty much controlling my fate here. I got to win this game. Now, the quirky thing is these guys are most likely going to see each other again. So how does Cincinnati feel about that, knowing that if Baltimore beats them today, most likely they're going to see Baltimore again?
Well, I was here on Friday before I went down to Lexington for the basketball game, and I talked to Marvin about that. And, I don't think they're too concerned about it. They've had a phenomenal record here at the Jungle this year, haven't lost a home game. And I don't think they're going to be disguising anything or holding anything back here today because they're still going to play for that possibility, albeit it's a long shot that New England would lose.
Plus, if I'm them, I want to be dominant at home, and I want to knock the Ravens out. If I'm a young team, if I'm Cincinnati, I'm a young team. I want to be dominant at home. I want to knock the champs out today. The heck with them. We'll play somebody else next week.
Well, that's exactly the way they're thinking.
Yeah, that's how I would treat it. So I agree with that. Listen, I think it's going to be a hard game for the Ravens today. I really do. Because I think Cincinnati's just a better team. As a matter of fact, I think Cincinnati has a chance to make a deep run in the playoffs.
Well, particularly for the fact they're going to have a home game. They the last 2 years that have looked like facsimiles. They've had to go down and play that early Saturday wild card game at Houston. Well, they know they're not going down there this year. They're going to have a chance to play here where they play well at home. And let's see where they fall. What the opponent's going to be, who the opponent will be on the divisional weekend. That's the thing. I'm anxious to see by the end of today. We're not only going to know, of course, the matchups for next week. We're going to know the way the league is going to set up the divisional weekend.